Today we're going to focus on some wellness initiatives that a lot of people are familiar with, but unfortunately have a cycle of doing the wrong things with just misinterpretation from an individual levels. I want to go over and talk about some things nutritionally that are going to not only put you on a pivot point to kind of elaborate your current knowledge, but hopefully kind of focus on why things may not have worked for you in the past. It's a tough thing, you know, everything in our industry is healthcare based, but yet healthcare is disease based, and our nutrition is slightly misinterpreted on what is healthy. And I'm going to be very delicate today to not challenge your thinking too much to where you put up a barrier and stop listening, but through this I'll go over also how you can get your body functioning better, to digest better, and how there's a little bit of a system with this. When you diagnose the state of dis-ease, your body is designed to be self-regulating, self-healing. And we look at that, we all know a cut on your arm, it's going to heal over time. Your body knows all this information inside. When you look at maintaining disease, that's a unique thing in itself. If someone's maintaining high blood pressure by taking a drug, does that make that person healthier? And if we have two people with high blood pressure, one's chemically lowering the blood pressure while one's just ignoring it, is one healthier than the other? You know, medicine is there to save your life. It's not there to make you healthy. And we'll get into the definition of health shortly, but the focus of this is, what is the cause? What's the cause contributing to weight gain or inability to lose weight? What's the cause of why your metabolic function's lowering, why your thyroid's breaking down, why your gallbladder organs are being removed premature of death? We're going to get into some of those factors today and in future workshops. You know, cholesterol facts is a hot topic, especially with food and when I talk about fats. So cholesterol is a naturally occurring substance. It's actually developed mostly in your liver. And cholesterol is sent there to aid in healing. It aids in also hormone function, the synthesis of certain vitamins and nutrients in your body. But cholesterol also travels with certain fats, certain proteins, and that's where the whole HDL, LDL, we just have this very caveman-like thinking. We go to doctors and they say LDL bad, HDL good, and there's no sort of comprehension. And it's like each of us are different. I mean, I'm sure each of us woke up, had a different breakfast, but yet each of us, based off of recommendations, are taking the same medicines for the same things and getting the same results. And it was initially started up by the American Heart Association, and it had a very black and white focus. It was that fats are bad, or saturated fats are bad. And saturated are usually the animal-based fats. So they got the message out there, the public really grabbed onto it. We replaced butter, we used margarine, we go in from natural to synthetic, and there's some good and bad things. Margarine consumption up 300%, but here's the thing, heart disease also rose dramatically. And that's something to kind of look at. If these recommendations are set in place and they work well, our heart disease rates would be the lowest out of anybody. Obesity also doubled between 1970 and 2007. Now, a lot of us like to identify our concerns with genetic factors. We got to point the finger at someone because it's definitely not what we're doing. And when we look at obesity rates, nothing's changed that drastically in 30, 40 years. Our genetic predisposition is the exact same, but the food that we consume is a lot different. What happens is when you remove fats from processed foods, you have to reintroduce other things to make it taste good for the shelf life to be there. And that's what you have to get into knowing how to read it. There's some issues though. Low fat equals high sugar. And that's another thing. We're trading off one thing for another. And that's what we're doing right now. We're changing one thing and we're adding in another thing. And that's what's kind of dangerous. You know, sometimes you take medicine to lower your blood pressure, but then the trade-off is 10 different side effects. When you look at this though, the negative impact on blood sugar, insulin, metabolism, cancer, obesity, some pretty sensitive topics that really rub people the wrong way, because again, we're taught that there's no cause to any of this. It's the cards you're dealt with. Don't worry about it. Blame it on someone else. And this is where I hope to change some things. It's just that the fat is really important. It helps to regulate also the building blocks. It lowers inflammation. And it helps with detoxification. I mean, if our bodies are detoxing right, that's a good thing. We can keep doing this stuff. And it makes up your brain tissue. In our country, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, neurological degenerative diseases, they're on the rise. So this is where, when you look at fats, saturated fats are absolutely important from a cellular level. It's a bilipid layer, and saturated fats are what comprise those cells. So it doesn't cause heart disease, it prevents it if it's the right type of fat. So you've got to dive into a little bit more. You can't have that black and white review. You've got to look at improper ratios of fat. You need to understand what those ratios are. You've got to understand how to identify them, and then we'll get into some things that you can change up. Here's the pyramid of what I focus, and Dr. Wolfson, who is kind of one of my leaders and educators, he's a orthopedic doctor, DO. He teaches paleo for heart health, and I have a whole workshop on this, on how to treat heart disease with proper ratios. And this is very different from any of us who were in school and had that lovely pyramid. At the very bottom of the pyramid, which should be the largest in number, are vegetables. When you look at this, vegetables should be the highest number of carbohydrates, or the energy focus. Carbohydrates can come from vegetables. That's what is in there. You want to look at what your body uses for energy. When I look at energy production, fat is much more effective to use as calories or energy than carbohydrates or protein are. When I teach patients how to obtain health, health is not as simple as just eat something, because all of you have known somebody who exercises every day, eats all organic, and dropped dead of a heart attack at age 50. Whereas somebody else we know smokes 2 packs a day, drinks a bottle of bourbon every afternoon, doesn't do anything, and we're all thinking like, yeah, that's gonna be me, which, hey, I wish it could be, right? But here's the thing, is that there's a difference. And when I teach this, it's your body's ability to heal. And when we look at this, if you were to know that you're gonna live until 94, you're gonna be that age, when's the best time to make these changes? It's not 20 years from now, it's today. Professionally, my setting and my license is a chiropractor. And when I teach things in nutrition and education, sometimes people hear chiropractor, they think neck pain, back pain, and professionally, you're right. That's what the Google definition portrays. For me personally, I am not known for the neck pain doctor, the back pain doctor, the knee doctor. I personally am known for different things, which I'll go over. But when you look at what controls all function and healing of health, understand this, that your brain is the master control center of it all. That's the one organ you can't replace. Your brain sends messages down the spinal cord, and those messages relay over the nerves. The nerves are the communication pathways to every organ and every system in your body. Yes, your cardiovascular system, your immune system, all these different factors. So check this out. If your spine is supposed to be in these proper alignments and your spine deviates out of its alignment, it puts pressure on those nerves. What I see is that if I am trying to change my lifestyle, if I am trying to make my body work better, what happens is that if my brain doesn't communicate to an organ like the thyroid, that thyroid will respond adversely. Maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down. Who really knows, right? Well, if that thyroid's not functioning, there's one area to say, hey, medicate it. Don't worry about the cause of it. The other option is, hey, medicate it, and then when it doesn't work, go ahead and cut it out. The other option is to, why is the brain not working with that organ? If I cut the nerve to that thyroid, it's gonna stop working. Brain doesn't communicate with that structure. Instead of cutting it, which is 100% dysfunction or lack of function, if I pinch that nerve because of trauma to the spine, it disconnects the brain from communicating with that organ, thus creating dis-ease or disease in the body. So the cumulative effect for digestion is that digestion and metabolic function is an intricate organ, it's a display of different systems. So what I look in my office for is very different than what some of the traditional doctors are teaching. And this is really where, if you're looking to get healthy, I feel that you have to address your nervous system. And if you haven't had it addressed, I'll show you how to do that. But I look at each section of your spine. And yes, each bone in between has a nerve exiting it. And yes, in every medical textbook, every chiropractic physical therapy, we get the same exact chart. When we look at certain areas, there are certain nerves that control different organs. We know which fingers are controlled by which nerves, which organs are controlled by which nerves, and there's a distribution of this. When I look at this, I give this to every patient in my practice and say, hey, which organs aren't working, and let's work on getting that nervous system working properly. Let's then get you eating healthy, taking the right supplements to hopefully allow your doctor to say, hey, you're doing really good, let's get you off some of these drugs.